I feel like I've done a complete 180 now. I have made a lot of other changes, process-wise, and including how I think about my business. And all the changes I've done make me more excited than ever to do this thing.
Yay. And oh my gosh, it is so much fun to see you so energized, so positive, so driven, and so very self-confident in comparison to where you were in March about both yourself and your company. Now let's take the emotional side out of it, however, and look at the facts, because you know me, I always feel the real story is in the facts. How are your numbers, Ashley?
I just booked a client yesterday over the phone. Count now, first one is the accountability and coaching session. And then I would say flyers and selling on the phone and making my employees they were part-time, making them full-time, and my wall chart. And those are probably the top 5. And also important were my action item list, one-on-ones, working my one-times not sold and canceled, and cleaner development meetings, and my recruiting of Hispanic cleaners. With the nuts and bolts advice that I get from someone who's already had 700 plus clients, knows what the heck to do and how to implement it. And I've even started thinking differently now about my business. And I kind of think it's like going to college, where you learn how to think. And plus, it's just human nature to perform better when someone else is watching, and you can't let yourself be slack in your work like you otherwise would be. I just cringe when I think about if I hadn't changed and I was still doing in-home estimates now. The clients, nobody has a problem with it. So far, only one lady has said she wanted an in-home estimate, and she didn't even book, so I'm not doing that again. And I just love all my free time now because I'm plus 55 clients from last year. So if you say an hour for each, even though it's probably more, I save myself more than a week's worth of time. A full-time person just plain has a different mentality than part-time. They're just plain more committed, and plus it means they need this paycheck to survive, and I'm paying them well, I'm paying them full-time, and that keeps them happy, and that's what we want. The wall chart is a little dry erase board that I have across from my desk. It keeps track of clients that I've gained and lost for that month, what the goal of gained clients is, and the number where we're at. I can tell you where we're at, where we need to be, how much I need to hustle it, and, maybe not just hustle, but dig. There was one day I needed to make my numbers. It was the end of the month. I was on the phone with Sharon, and I was, telling her, I think I know someone I can call back who didn't book, maybe another person that was kind of pending, and I was digging. I was going to make my numbers, and the wall chart, it makes you do that. But in all honesty, getting ready for this interview, reviewing, I kind of can't believe where I'm at and how much more or less easy it was, by implementing what I've learned from Sharon, being smart about it, taking her advice. So I am kind of jazzed for the next year to finally pass stage 1, finish Sharon's action item list, and go on to stage 2.
Great.
If I had any more advice, it would just be to use Sharon. Make sure to implement the advice she gives, and yes, definitely, I am more than happy to get any phone calls or any emails from anybody.
The biggest challenges that we had were the employees. Like at that point, we had 13 people that we paid that were part-time, and it just became like when it was smaller, it was a lot easier to control. But once it got bigger, it was just we had so many cancellations, from our part-time people. They were driving their own cars out to the jobs, and it was just impossible. Like they didn't like that their jobs sometimes would get switched at the last minute when we had cancellations or new clients or something like that. So it was just really tough to keep our people. We had really high turnover. We ran through a lot of employees, and we have a couple full-time employees now that we had back then under the old model that we were doing, and they like it so much better now. It was almost like contractors. Like we'd ask them if they could go do this, or we'd have to negotiate. Well, we'll pay you this if you can go pick up these keys from this customer. You know, and it wasn't. We didn't really. It didn't feel like we had control over their time, just because you know, they weren't paid drive time and that type of thing. So it just was not working. It was not scalable at all. Before we had to have, like, for example, we have 2 sets of vacuums, one carpet, one hardwood vacuum, or you know, canister vacuum, and so we had to have basically you know, the 2 vacuums plus a whole set of cleaning supplies for every single person who was out doing jobs. And now,
so we had 8 sets of vacuums, but then we had people that were sharing those.
Yeah.
And so it was inconsistent on what they were using. People were getting frustrated because they take care of their equipment and somebody else would trash it and when they would get it. And so we had to have so much equipment. And then we also had to have about 15 different totes, cleaning totes with cleaning supplies in it. And so that was a lot of cleaning supplies there.
Really
so we actually have enough cleaning supplies now that we could add another 2 or 3 more teams probably and be okay.
And it's nice to have around the office.
It is nice.
Business in the box in September, and all of this was still pretty chaotic. Even though you were managing to grow, I mean, you got up to 67 clients by going through all this mess. So let's talk a little bit about the greatest values you think you got out of business in a box.
For me, it's the teams. It's absolutely amazing having the teams because I was so stressed because we were losing clients over quality, and so back then, and so I couldn't train 15 people and keep on 15 people all the time because I was pregnant and then I had an infant. So it was really difficult. So having the teams, only having to really focus on those team leads, and they were taking more of my work, it was just a huge help, and I was able to trust them more, and I didn't worry as much when we had the teams. The team has been my favorite part of this new system, and we're excited about the cars, and we're excited about them doing advertisements in the neighborhood. It's safer for the employees not to be alone in clients' homes, and so for me, the teams. What about you?
And I think the training programs, it's so professionally done that we can take a new employee and sit them down and go through everything, and even some of our older employees who started doing the video
I used
training.
to have to walk them through how to hold a rag in their hand. So those videos for me have been huge. I could not believe how the difference it made for them to be able to see it, because I used to make them watch me, and then I would watch them, and then have to come back and around and do it. But this time when they're having trouble with something, they come back and watch the video they're having trouble with. So the videos, again, they're just amazing.
And then probably the next biggest thing after that was supplies. Like with supplies, when we first started, we just kind of did what worked for us, you know, and
quality of the work. I never had lost a client ever. I've gotten referrals from all my clients, and so I was very confident in my cleaning techniques. When I watched those videos and I started to implement them, my cleaning is better. I kind of am a little bit cocky about it because I didn't think my cleaning could get better. And when I watched those videos, it did. And my cleaning time has gotten shorter and my quality has gone up, which I didn't know was possible.
Team, it's a little bit easier with training because with a 2-person, it's a little bit more on the lead to kind of split up some of the duties in the house. With a 3-person team, we have the lead on the kitchen, you know, and then the new person typically in the bathrooms, and the second person doing the dusting and, you know, floors and that type of thing. So, so with the 2-person teams, it's not quite as easy. The minute we get over to 3 full-time teams, it'll feel a lot. I think that'll make a big difference.
We prefer the three full-time teams.
Yeah, I did.
I would just say that when we found this, I mean, I just found it online. Oh no, actually, I had a friend of mine. Down in Kent, which is like I met her at a networking meeting, and she has a business, and she was raving about your program, and so I went online and looked for it basically, and when we found it, we were dealing with all these problems, and for us, getting it was a no-brainer. I mean, the minute we saw it, we got the whole program, and
well, it's actually funny. Carmine thought it was a no-brainer. She's like, nope, we're going to do it. And me, I was a little bit, what? I don't think so. We don't need that. I don't really want to do it. And then the second I watched it, the second he was talking about because somebody had suggested doing full-time employees, and I turned that down. I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay people to sit around. I was kind of hard around. It was difficult for him to kind of get me there. And now I cannot believe that it's so much better the way that we have it set up now. And I absolutely love it. It's made a huge difference.
If we would have got this program when we first started out, I mean, our business would be in a totally different place than it is right now. I mean, it's hard to believe how many clients we've lost over we would just be like way bigger than we are right now. So, but I'm glad we found it when we did because we were struggling.
But also what's helped it with us is that we're able to train other employees because before it's on us, me and Carmine only. And especially with the training, we have a nice office, we have our warehouse set up, which is good for the employees, but the training part is more difficult. I have an infant and I'm 6 months pregnant. So I know that I'm not going to be able to train for very much longer. And so those leads that we have, I can train them and focus on them to train other employees when they come in. And that just because of the videos and the way it's set up now with the teams. If we didn't have these teams and didn't have the videos, I don't know what we would do because I couldn't train.
There. Again, I put your names up here because I asked you, but you are open to people calling you and asking you questions?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Perfect.